For the third straight year, Hendrickson is in the headlines, not for sacks or highlight reels, but for his contract disputes. It's a situation simmering beneath the surface of the Bengals' otherwise calculated front office, and now it's boiling over. This all started back in 2023 when Hendrickson inked a one-year extension that came with an $8 million signing bonus. Fast forward one season, and Hendrickson pushed for a long-term commitment. The Bengals? Not interested. That's when he threw down a trade request, but it was ignored. Flat out. This offseason, however, things shifted. The Bengals gave Hendrickson permission to explore trade opportunities. A bold move. Several teams circled, intrigued by the chance to add a veteran edge rusher. But nothing materialized. No trade, no deal. Why? Because signing Hendrickson isn't just about cash. It's also about giving up draft capital for a 30-year-old pass rusher whose future production, while promising, isn't guaranteed. And that's where the league buzz gets interesting. According to reports from ESPN's Ben Baby, teams are torn. They respect Hendrickson's motor and experience, but there's hesitation. Commitment costs more than money. It costs leverage, and GMs aren't giving that up lightly. So where does this standoff between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals really end? The answer, quite frankly, is nowhere comfortable for Cincinnati. According to insiders, most NFL executives agree. The Bengals are wedged between financial reality and undeniable talent. Hendrickson isn't just a good pass rusher, he's elite. We're talking about a player who should arguably be in the same salary bracket as Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Danielle Hunter, and Nick Bosa, guys pulling in $34 million and up per year. But here's the Bengals' problem. That market shift didn't come lightly, and it's disrupting everything. This past offseason, Danielle Hunter, at the same age as Hendrickson, landed a deal worth over $35.6 million annually. That's after posting 12 sacks. Hendrickson, he's consistently outperformed that. And still, no long-term commitment from Cincinnati. Sources close to the situation say Hendrickson is serious. Not just contract year serious, miss games serious. And that's a major alarm bell for a franchise built on reliability and quiet confidence. One insider put it plainly, he's extremely dug in. Could we really see Hendrickson miss regular season action? It's on the table. This isn't just a game of contract chicken anymore. This is two sides staring each other down while the season looms closer every day. But here's the wrinkle. Hendrickson loves to play. This is a guy who lives for Sundays. That's what makes this standoff so high stakes. It's passion versus principle. Last time, he gave in. But this time, there's a sense the needle's moved further than ever before. At the heart of this impasse isn't drama. It's the evolving economics of the edge rusher market. The Bengals might have underestimated just how much that market explosion would impact negotiations, and now they're paying the price, in uncertainty. The Bengals front office is walking a tightrope. They can't afford to lose Hendrickson's production, but if they cave completely, it could set a precedent for other stars watching closely. The clock is ticking in Cincinnati, and the pressure's rising. Now let's talk money, because that's where this whole thing gets real. The moment Danielle Hunter inked that $35.6 million deal with the Texans, everything changed. Sure, it was technically a short-term commitment, but the price tag? That was a seismic shift in the edge rusher market, and Trey Hendrickson noticed. But here's the key difference. Hendrickson isn't chasing a one-year payday. He wants long-term security, something closer to that massive number, but stretched across multiple seasons. That's not greed. That's strategy. Hendrickson knows his value, and he wants stability that respects what he's brought to Cincinnati's defense. And the Bengals? They saw it coming. The second Hunter signed, Cincinnati's front office likely winced, because suddenly Hendrickson's market value wasn't hypothetical anymore. It had a name, a number, a precedent. Now, let's clear up a myth that's been floating around. Can the Bengals afford him? Absolutely. This isn't about money. They had the cap flexibility to extend Burrow, re-sign Chase, tag Higgins, and still structure a serious offer for Hendrickson. That's not speculation, that's math. The real issue is philosophy. The Bengals don't often hand out big second deals to players at 30. They're cautious, calculated, and in most cases, that works. But Hendrickson isn't most cases. He's a premier sack artist in his prime. Letting him walk over principle could haunt this team on 3rd and long every Sunday. So here they are, on the edge of contention, with a top-tier pass rusher asking for respect in contract form, and a front office balancing loyalty, logic, and long-term planning. The clock's ticking, and this isn't just about Hendrickson anymore. It's about the identity of this Bengals defense and whether the franchise is willing to evolve to keep its foundation intact. Let's cut to the core. Can the Bengals pay Trey Hendrickson what he wants? Absolutely. The bigger question is, will they? The reported offer from Cincinnati sits around $28 million. That's not a bad number, but for Hendrickson, it's not enough. Especially not after watching a comparable player like Danielle Hunter land over $35 million. Now, sure, stretching to $35 million would require the Bengals to get creative. But this is the NFL in 2025. Creative cap management isn't just possible, it's the norm. Teams like the Eagles restructure, defer, and maneuver around the cap like chess masters. If Cincinnati truly wants to keep Hendrickson, there's a path. The tools are there. Here's where Ben Baby makes a sharp observation. The Bengals need Hendrickson more than he needs them, and that's a tough pill for any front office to swallow. This team is built for now. With Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and a Super Bowl-sized window, the time to win is right now, not 3 years from now. Hendrickson has been a game changer on defense, a true closer. And if they lose that at a time when margins in the AFC are razor thin, the ripple effects could be brutal. But let's be clear, Hendrickson also needs the Bengals. Leverage is a two-way street. Playing on a contending roster with elite talent and national exposure boosts everything, from a player's legacy to their post-career prospects. So here they stand, each side holding leverage, each staring down the other, and the season creeping ever closer. This isn't just about a contract, it's about what the Bengals are willing to do to chase greatness, and how far Hendrickson is willing to go to claim what he's earned. So who's really holding the cards here, Trey Hendrickson or the Cincinnati Bengals? Technically, the Bengals have leverage. Hendrickson signed that short-term extension. He's under contract. They don't have to budge. But here's the truth. Leverage doesn't always equal power. Sure, Cincinnati could hold their ground. They could refuse to negotiate and let Hendrickson stew. But let's not pretend he'd be sitting long. If he hit the open market at $16 million, teams would be lined up overnight. That kind of talent doesn't stay unemployed in today's NFL. Of course, the Bengals aren't cutting him. That's fantasy talk. Hendrickson is too valuable. What we do have is a standoff. And the question now is, how long can this last before it starts hurting both sides? It's not black and white. Neither side is faultless here. The Bengals, for all their roster-building brilliance, have let this linger far too long. And Hendrickson? He's been here before. Drama, discontent, and yet, when the pads came on, he suited up. That's what makes this moment so unpredictable. In the past, he blinked. This time, he's dancing around questions, not dodging them. There's a difference. Could this spill into week 1? Yes. According to Ben Baby's sources, Hendrickson has made it crystal clear. He doesn't want to play on this contract. The message has been sent. Loud and clear. What remains to be seen is whether Cincinnati calls his bluff, or finally steps forward with the respect a player of his caliber has earned. For now, this remains one of the biggest storylines of the Bengals offseason, because it's not just about money or pride, it's about whether a Super Bowl contender can afford to gamble with one of its most dominant defensive pieces. There's frustration, and then there's what's happening now with Trey Hendrickson. This isn't just a contract dispute, it's a warning shot. The past few off seasons, they were tense, sure, but this feels different. The tone, the posture, the silence, it all points to one thing. Hendrickson is more serious than ever. He's not bluffing this time. Missing games, maybe even an extended holdout, it's not just possible. It's very much on the table. And yet, there's a truth about Trey Hendrickson that's hard to ignore. He's a competitor to the core, the kind of player who belongs on the field with the game on the line. That's who he is. That's how he's wired. So if you're asking for a gut check, I'd bet he eventually suits up. Maybe not happily, maybe not quietly, but he plays. Still, nothing's guaranteed. Ben Baby outlines the scenarios. If no new deal is struck, Hendrickson could play out his contract and hit free agency in 2026. But let's be real, he'll be older then, and age changes everything. There's no promise he'll get this level of leverage again. The window to cash in is now, and both he and his camp know it. Another option? He could force the Bengals' hand and make this situation so toxic that Cincinnati has no choice but to ship him out. Think Carlos Dunlap in 2020. But here's the thing. Hendrickson isn't Dunlap. He's better. Far better. A Defensive Player of the Year runner-up, not just a disgruntled veteran. That distinction matters, because if teams sense desperation from the Bengals, if this gets dragged into midseason chaos, Cincinnati loses power at the negotiating table. Trade compensation drops, public perception shifts, and suddenly, a top-tier edge rusher becomes a headline for all the wrong reasons. The longer this goes unresolved, the harder it becomes for the Bengals to control the outcome. And if Hendrickson holds firm, this may not end on the field, but in a front office meeting room where long-term vision clashes with short-term reality. If teams around the league believe the relationship between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals is fractured beyond repair, they're not going to bid high. They'll wait. They'll let it collapse. That's the game now. Other franchises are watching this drama unfold and thinking, why give up valuable picks or cap room if Hendrickson is going to be available anyway? That's the risk Cincinnati faces the longer this stretches out. Let's be blunt. Hendrickson playing under his current contract? Unlikely. Almost impossible. This isn't a minor disagreement. It's a fundamental breakdown over value and respect. There are only a few paths forward. The Bengals meet Hendrickson's financial demands. Hendrickson caves and accepts the previously reported $28 million offer, or this turns into a full-blown standoff that sidelines one of the best pass rushers in football. And from his perspective, why risk his body for a contract far below market value, especially after back-to-back elite seasons? He knows what he's worth. The league knows it too. The question is whether Cincinnati is willing to admit it before things go too far. Because let's face it, what Hendrickson's done the past 2 years might be the peak of his career. That level of production isn't easily replicated year after year, and he's earned the right to maximize it. Betting on another Pro Bowl season while playing for half his market value, that's not a gamble he should or likely will take. This story isn't over. Far from it. But the clock is ticking, and both sides know that if the wrong move is made, it could cost Cincinnati far more than just a contract dispute. It could cost them their window.